Hearthstone Global Games is an epic country versus country tournament where teams of 4 card slingers each clash for national pride. But in the end, the UK always wins.
Wait, everybody knows it's Germany always wins.
Aren't you Polish?
Is winning all that matters?
It's all about fun and getting along with your teammates.
That's easy when their skills are legendary.
Or in this case, you have an ace player who will never let you down.
So we're gonna see the same old archetypes then?
No, every team needs to bring all 9 classes.
So we're gonna see Hunter?
I wonder.
So let's recap. It's 4 regions, 48 countries, but
Only one winner. Get ready
for the Hearthstone
Global Games.
Hello everyone and welcome to day number 2 of Hearthstone Global Games, week number 9. I'm Raven and joining me is Sottle for this day number 2 of multiple more games coming up. We've got a lot of matches coming up, 5 more today, and we are edging towards the end of stage 1, and it's, as you would say, playing for all the marbles, a lot of these teams now.
Is that a thing I say?
Often.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. It is coming down to the nitty-gritty. That was also a phrase that I used yesterday on several occasions, as most of these groups that we will go through in the coming seconds will be decided over the next couple of weeks, if not already. There's several groups where a winner is already decided. There's several groups where a couple of players are all out. But before we get all to that, just a recap of the format overall.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're in week number 9 of 10-week round robin of stage number 1 with 8 groups of 6 teams each. They've all been playing it out for weeks on end, and the stage is nearing its conclusion to decide who is going to go through to stage 2.
Yep, and the immediate future, what these teams are playing for is the right to take their place in Stage 2, where they will be reseeded into 6 groups of 4 teams, play out another round-robin format over 3 weeks, and then the top 16 of that will advance to a single elimination bracket, fighting out for a top 4 placing, where they will play off at a live event for the rights to call themselves the champions of the Hearthstone Global Games.
Of the world.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's close. It's close.
Single greatest Hearthstone nation on the planet. That is the title that you can give yourself.
Yeah, though we've got to bear in mind, as I think you and Lorinda were discussing it, is not every single country in the world is included in this, but most. We've almost got there. But yeah, you know, we're talking about how important these matches are, and we can find out exactly how important they are when we check out the groups. It's going to be Group A, Bulgaria rocking the top. One of the surprise teams, to be honest, for me, coming out of Hearthstone Global Games. A lot of unknown names. Well, I say unknown, they're not unknown anymore.
Yeah, making names for themselves, which is one of the explicit opportunities that this tournament is giving to a lot of players who are just coming from countries that maybe have very insular scenes, that don't expose themselves to the rest of the world, or that don't really have flourishing competitive scenes in their own right. But United States topping Group B do not fall into either of those categories. United States are full of household names in the Hearthstone scene, and so far they have lived up to expectations with a 4-0 record.
Yeah, Netherlands as well, hot on the heels there. You know, Netherlands, another very, very strong country of Hearthstone indeed. And Romania, we saw yesterday in a very tight game with a lot on the line. Romania getting the win, so they are currently in 3rd place, but it's not all decided yet.
It is, actually. Is it? That group is done, yeah. Top 3 are top 3 in that group.
Oh, I could have sworn Lorinda was having a different conversation
like,
5 minutes ago.
All right, fine. Peru have to do ridiculous things.
Right, okay. I was like,
there's a tiny percentage.
There's still games to be played out.
Yes.
Group C, Russia rocking the top. Your pick for the Hearthstone Global Games. Doing okay for now, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, Russia, of course, didn't really push the boat out of that one. It wasn't like the genius pick of picking Mage out of relative obscurity to be the APAC champion.
By picking, just stealing TJ's pick.
Shush.
Whereas an actual original good pick is South Korea in Group D. 4-1 at the top with a pretty decent record of 12-7. You see second place there is Greece, 3-2, also managed to win yesterday. And they're at 12-11, so a much closer game record, but currently looking okay at 2.
Yep, and Greece, big comeback story for them, starting out with a horrible start over their first couple of weeks' performances, turning it all around, finishing out with a 3-2 record. We are going to have Slovakia and Portugal vying it out today. We'll get into the implications of various scores in that matchup later.
Yep, and then Group E, Italy, one of the stars of global games at the moment, 4-0 record. Team being built up of 4 players that are on a team outside of global games anyway, so there's that just already pre-done sort of teamwork. The mesh is all there. So they've been making it work there. Whereas, you know, you look at Japan, bit of a surprise for me, to be honest. 1-4, Japan played yesterday, didn't do too well, and now just at the bottom of the table in Group E.
Yeah, I think Japan are slowly gathering a reputation in the APAC region of being one of the countries that produces the best talent. And so that would be a surprise to me that as the APAC representative in this group, they have not found their way to success. And in fact, quite the opposite, 1-4 record propping up the group in that instance.
Yeah, whereas for Group F, Malaysia rocking the top. Bit of a surprise, you know, we were looking at how strong Canada was doing early on in the first few weeks of global games, but then Malaysia have just rocked it out of nowhere with a 13-8 record overall and a 4-1 match record. Looking pretty good with Canada and Belgium still hot on the heels, and Denmark still have a game to play as well.
Group G now, as Group G apparently is on a quest right now, but Mexico are on a quest of their own to top the group and are doing it very, very well so far. I've been very impressed with Mexico's performances. Not a team, I will admit, that I had pegged to do huge things in this tournament, but they have definitely surprised me, if not anyone else, so far leading this group.
Yeah, and then we've got Taiwan, Turkey, Poland, all sort of vying. I think this is one of the groups that's more just even across the board at the moment. Still a lot up in the air, as even the game records are relatively close. Look at Poland and Turkey, you know, 9-8, 9-9.
Right.
They're really not done and dusted by any means yet.
Sounds like you just described 2 new 4-mana Shaman cards that they're going to get in the next expansion.
9-9, 9-8, 3 mana.
Yeah.
Play one, summons the other.
Back to more serious matters. Group H, Ukraine had their undefeated record stripped away from them by Belarus of all countries in the past week. They had that shot to be the first team to go to a 5-0 record, with the United States trying to follow them up later on. But Belarus picked up the win. Ukraine still comfortable at 4-1, but they are all very, very proud, competitive people who would have loved to have that unblemished 5-0 record next to them.
Yeah, definitely would have been nice for them, but having such a good record earlier means that they are through regardless at this point, whereas Czech Republic 3-1 at the moment, and with another very strong game record score. So they're looking pretty good as well. So as we said, you know, they're all the groups. We've only got today. We've got tomorrow with Rob and Cora, I believe, are going to be bringing you some more matches. And then next week, and that's stage 1 done. We'll be then moving on to stage 2. But what we've got coming up today is we've got 5 awesome matches, no doubt. We've got Portugal versus Slovakia kicking it off first. And then Sweden versus Switzerland after that. Then going to be Czech Republic versus Germany, one I'm greatly looking forward to, and I get the benefit of watching that match while you and Lauren cast that one.
Czech Republic versus Germany will be a battle of 2 real heavy hitters, and Czech Republic do still have first place to play for. If they can pick up a 3-0 win against Germany, who, remember, have not been doing well in this tournament by any means, they can actually overtake Ukraine at the top of the group, despite Ukraine getting off to that 4-0 start.
Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy. And then to finish up the day, we have Brazil versus Bulgaria. Always looking forward to see Bulgaria play. And then we have Chile versus Israel to finish off the day. And Israel is a very interesting team to me as well, because they seem to be one of the teams that, because this is a team format, I just said team 5 times or whatever in that one sentence. It's a team format.
You said team 5? We're just giving shout-outs now? Hey, in-world, kind of.
And they definitely, sort of, no, I won't say carried, but have a strong leader in that team in terms of, just pushing, I'm pretty sure, deck ideas, even just play styles as well, because communication is allowed, guys. It's going to be a 4-on-4 for every match.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the most interesting dynamics. It's something that we do keep coming back to, but because it is very important how these teams play out amongst themselves. All 4 players communicate over every single matchup, so things come into play like how good your communication is overall, whether you have specific roles of one guy being a shot caller, one guy focusing on hand reads, or whether you just have one leader on your team who you feel is so much above and beyond the rest of you that you're just kind of listening to that guy, taking his advice and just chiming in when you spot something. Yeah, I mean, it can happen, right? Like one good player on a team can actually elevate the quality, and you see a lot of these teams, it's a couple of pro players alongside a couple of content creators in a lot of cases, because these were fan voted teams. So that's a genuine dynamic that you can see in a lot of cases.
Yeah, but as we said, we are going to be kicking off the day with Portugal versus Slovakia. And check out the teams: Ginger, Ignite, Soreza, and Dr. Boom for Portugal. They've had a bit of an up and down tournament so far, I would say. You know, they've been, I think, on average playing well, but just not getting the rub of the green now and again. I think they lost versus Greece as well, which was a tough one for those guys, and a very close one as well. You know, Portugal and Greece have quite the rivalry going on.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, but we believe, and this is, now we can focus in on this matchup. Portugal, you may think on surface examination that with a 3-0 win in this match, Portugal could go through, but that would unfortunately rely on two other teams losing their remaining match 3-0. Unfortunately for Portugal, those two teams are playing each other. So we believe
someone has to win.
We believe that Portugal are just in a no-win situation from now on, but will still be playing out for pride and the pride of the beautiful nation of Portugal that you see in front of you there.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well, as we check out some lovely scenes from Slovakia, is that even if you're already out, this is a team format. You are on stream to thousands of people. You want to, you know, get the performance good. You know, you don't want to just bomb out because you can't actually get through the next stage. You definitely want to play well. You definitely want to win anyway and finish the group with as good a score as you can get.
You want to get the performance good. Raven, maybe you should get your words good.
It's too much hanging around you. So we can check out the format now. It's going to be a team best of 5 with each player bringing 2 unique classes. They can pick one of them to go against their opponent's one of 2 classes as well. First team to 3 is going to take it.
Yeah, so we will lead out with Cereza having Warrior or Priest available to him, and Ivan Flock on Shaman and Priest. And I believe like Cereza is going to lead out with his Warrior in this situation, which, you know, how do you feel about that running into Shaman Priest coming on the other side? Because Priest coming into a mirror match, but how Priest versus Shaman these days, it being the Bloodlust Shaman, do you have any experience in that matchup? I know you've been playing a good chunk of Bloodlust Shaman.
Yeah, it's a tough one actually, because one of the, if it's Dragon Priest, it can be a little bit of a problem, I feel, because although you know, you can get, a lot of the deck is getting value trades with like Flame Tongue, but it's hard to get value trades against like a Twilight Drake, you know what I mean? You just trade your whole board away and you've not got anything left. And that theme kind of runs throughout. And when you start getting to the Primordial Drake section of the game, it just wipes your board, and Priest obviously commonly has the big enough minions that you can't really get through anymore. Dragonfire Potion being a huge deal as well.
Yeah, but as I mentioned, it's going to be Warrior coming up against Shaman in this spot. So assuming this is a Pirate Warrior going up against some form of aggressive Shaman, that's the most common decks that we've been seeing over yesterday at least, although I was surprised yesterday that we saw Pirate Warrior more frequently because I do believe that Quest Warrior is very well positioned. So if it's Pirate Warrior versus an aggressive Shaman, then it's going to really come down to early game weapon control. I think that's such a big deal in the matchup. Quest Warrior, if it comes up against Bloodlust Shaman, though, that's just one of those matchups where Quest Shaman is just kind of built for, right? Like you put irritating walls in the way to stop getting yourself rushed down early, and then between your Sleep with the Fishes and your Brawls and your various removal options, you have the power to get rid of 2 to 3 extremely large
waves,
boards. Yeah, you can beat reloads from the deck, and Shaman is a deck that's historically always reloaded the board extremely well.
Yeah, and that was Quest Warrior, not Quest Shaman. Because
Did I say Quest Shaman?
Because
sorry to get everyone's hopes up.
Yeah, we're not going to see, what is it, Big Finn?
Big Finn.
We're not going to see Big Finn in this game. Probably not. Anyway, I'm going to say all this, and then Shaman just plays the quest turn 1. I was like, what? How did you know? But yeah, I agree. I think the evolve has to be huge to like power through the taunt minions, and you can get some pretty crazy evolves. I mean, I've heard you know a little bit about the stats from a Doppelgangster evolve turn.
1 or 2 things. I'll save them for when it's relevant, though, Raven. But the thing is, all right, it's Pirate Warrior, but just to finish off the Quest Warrior deal, you have to have also had enough early pressure to beat the Brawl in a lot of situations.
That's true.
Right? You have to go early pressure, suck out the Brawl, and then, you know, Doppelgangster evolve. You're such a child. Every time you laugh at a completely innocent comment, every single week.
Look, I'm just smiling because we've got a good matchup.
All right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. But, as I mentioned, weapon control. And I used the phrase weapon control deliberately and didn't just say drawing your weapons, because under the umbrella of weapon control also comes this card that you see in hand from Slovakia, Bloodsail Corsair. Bloodsail Corsair and the Jade Claws for the Shaman are huge, whereas Fiery War Axe and Azot's First Mate are massive for the Warrior, because the ability to just control the early game minions with, wow, Spirit Echo. What?
The ability to, whoa! Well, I was just about to say as well, Direwolf Alpha. It's a worse Flame Tongue.
What? What?
So we don't quite understand what is going on with this. I feel like the look on Ivan Flock's face just sums up this deck. It's just a smirk, and he's like, oh, we're going to mess with the casters on this one. So I guess this beats the reloads you were talking about.
That's very true, yeah.
You go pretty wide on the board, play a Spirit Echo, and even if you fill it up with totems and you have Bloodlust, still not. You can often play that whole hand out again.
This is crazy because, yeah, I spotted the Direwolf Alpha and it was a thing that I was going to get to, but, you know, this is something that players when they're evaluating cards, they often make this mistake when expansions come out where they'll see a new card come out and they'll say, oh, you know, this isn't, you know, a 1-drop for Mage gets printed. And like, oh, this isn't as good as Mana Worm. Why would I play it? Well, sometimes you want to have 4 Mana Worms in your deck.
Yeah.
You don't get to play 4 Mana Worms, so you will play 2 Mana Worms and 2 cards that are not as good as Mana Worm. You'll just make that happen. So Direwolf Alpha in the deck as a 3rd and 4th Flame Tongue that's not quite as good, I could totally get on board with that. But then suddenly Spirit Echo appeared.
Wild Spirit Echoes appears. Yeah, we'll see what kind of value it gets and see what the rest of the deck looks like. Or maybe not, depending on how quick this game goes.
Bloodsail Corsair is going to come down, get a fairly low value snipe on a weapon. Firstly, it's not one of the big weapons that you're hitting with the Battle Cry. Secondly, it's not the last charge that you're hitting with the Battle Cry, which is so much more powerful. Because in this situation, with still a 2-2 weapon remaining, that weapon can continue to be upgraded with Bloodsail Cultists and so on throughout the rest of the game. Whereas if you get them down to 1 charge on their weapon, then they have the intention of upgrading it on the following turn, and you snipe that out, that can be a big swing for you.
Yeah, there's Direwolf Totem coming out into the hand. Totem. But yeah, I think it's important as well that although not good value, some value, because upgrade was used, so you do remove 1 swing of an upgraded weapon. But yeah, it just leaves you open to actually being able to just continue upgrading the weapon and going on here. But Ivan Flock's going to start doing Shaman things, unfair trades, and this Flame Tongue Totem is just going to be fairly traded into with what's already on board here.
I was going to say, like, this is the downside of Flame Tongue Totem, right? Like, yes, he was able to pick up a really, really effective trade in that position with Flame Tongue, but the fact that it itself is a 0-3 body means your opponent has the opportunity to free trade back into it. That's where the value swing often comes back. Like, yes, Flame Tongue can create you insane, like, 2-for-0 situations where you trade off resources, but the card itself that you play often gets free traded by your opponent if they're able to retain minions in play. If you clear their board, then they have to Frostbolt it or something along those lines. That's when it can feel criminally unfair.
Yeah, and I think as well, even at this point, even though it's not cleared off, say it was 2 mana, deal 2, heal 4.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty good card. And reduce your thing from below by 1. It's just everything.
You just hate Flame Tongue Totem.
It's too good. And now, the conundrum. Where do you place Direwolf?
Is it the conundrum?
Where do you place it, Saul? Answer the question we all need to know.
Well, it depends. If you're trading off the Flame Tongue Totem, it actually doesn't matter where you put it, as long as you don't put it on the right-hand side of the board.
So currently. It does matter. I think it's quite vitally effective.
But I think avoiding placing your Direwolf Alpha on the right-hand side of the board in this position could not accurately be described as a conundrum.
Something to think about.
Okay.
We're here to cast this game to all levels of Hearthstone players.
I think the real conundrum is whether the Direwolf gets played at all in this position, because it's actually a really low-value position to be dropping the Direwolf Alpha. Like, the extra 1 damage on your Flame Tongue Totem doesn't do anything, and you just expose a very high-value minion, which Portugal are currently mocking relentlessly by the looks of things, to the board and a 2-2 weapon. Like, they've just played it out here to die to the weapon swing. I don't think Portugal could quite believe that they just saw a Direwolf Alpha come down.
Yeah, they were like, oh, have they misclicked? Just wait till they see Spirit Echoes. It's going to be nuts. Still got a while, though, and this is one of the problems. Like, Spirit Echoes is reliant on late game, and although this deck goes to the late game, it often doesn't have that kind of board pressure late game, and if it does, you already win. You know what I mean? If you have a strong board by the time you can get Spirit Echoes out, you're probably in a good spot and could just Bloodlust them instead. It's going to be a tricky one.
I'm fascinated by this build. I wonder whether there are any more significant differences outside what we've seen from the Direwolf Alpha and the Spirit Echo. Of course, we haven't actually seen any indicator that there is necessarily even the Evolve package in this deck, he says, as Doppelgangster comes flying off the top, making him look like a moron as if he needed any help.
No help at all required. But what's cut? That's my question. If you're playing, are you really going to play one Wolf, one Spirit Echoes to cut a 2-of of something in this list? I don't think so.
One of the things I like particularly about Evolve Shaman is that as a deck list, it plays the maximum number of 2-ofs plus the legendaries. I think that is a sign of a fairly consistent, refined deck list when you can make that happen. So if that's the kind of line that they've gone down, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that in theory, but just to theorize purely off the top as to some of the things we haven't seen yet. Haven't seen any Jade cards, but that would be unusual because all of the Jade cards, even when you're not playing them as a true Jade package, Aya, Jade Claws, and Jade Lightning are just fantastic Shaman cards in a vacuum. So you'd expect those are all being played. All the other minions in the deck, Primal Fin Totem, Manatide Totem, Flame Tongue Totem, those I imagine would be core cards to the deck as well. We've already seen Firefly. Firefly is a fantastic tool that I'm sure you play. We've already seen Bloodsail Corsair. And I can't imagine you can go down to one Bloodsail Corsair and still have patches in your deck, as we've already seen.
Absolutely crazy. South Sea Captain number 2, though, is available for Portugal, and that's just going to make this board even bigger and more difficult to deal with. I think it was correct for Slovakia to actually just play the Doppelgangsters, just get stuff on board. The benefit of just creating 3 minions in one turn for one card is very strong, but look at this board now. Often, we've discussed a lot about Evolve Shaman only having Maelstrom Portal as removal. And this deck looks like it's cut even more cards for Spirit Echoes, for Direwolf, so
here's a thought.
This could be a problem.
What if the card that's gone down here, as we find other things to talk about as we watch this absolute formality of a game develop, what if it's Stonehill Defender? Because Stonehill Defender is a very poor card for developing board presence, which is what this deck wants to do in the early game. We talked yesterday about how weak a keep Stonehill Defender is in your opening hand in most matchups. What Stonehill Defender is a great value tool for you. Well, you're replacing one 3-mana value tool with another incredible 3-mana value tool in Spirit Echo. So maybe that's a cut that makes sense.
Maybe. The thing I like about Stonehill, though, is if you use your turns 1 and 2 to develop small minions, you play Stonehill, and it's actually just a great defensive tool to defend.
Syndrome, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just defend those minions. And also, you do have, not to the same power level as Paladin, but you do have some great cards. Even just, we saw yesterday a Storm Warden the turn after White Eyes was played and killed, get drawn. And that is actually huge. It can open up win conditions that aren't normally readily available to you. Is he actually going to evolve?
Yeah.
Okay. So you evolve a 5/5 with taunt to a 5/5 without taunt, and a totem into a 3/2.
Unlucky.
I think they have resigned themselves to losing this game. Well played indeed, as Cereza just runs over Ivan Flock and Team Slovakia, with this Pirate Warrior. And you said, a little bit surprised that we're seeing so much Pirate Warrior around, but the deck is still just good. And the addition of the Spellbreaker means that it just gets you that one step further against some of the decks you will struggle against.
Yeah, Spikeridge Steed, Primordial Drake, these are all things that require answers to, and Spellbreaker is about the most efficient way to do it. Maybe Black Knight would be a consideration if it was just Primordial Drake that you were dealing with, but the fact that Spikeridge Steed comes into it as well, Black Knight doesn't even get you through a Spikeridge Steed, so Spellbreaker has become the tech choice that most of these Pirate Warriors are playing for that situation. But just looking at Portugal's reaction to some of the things they saw that game, I think they were about as mystified by what was going on as we were.
I'm just looking forward to the rest of the games, to be honest. If Slovakia are just saying, we're just going to bring some experimental decks and some fun stuff, we'll see how it goes. As we look at the next game we've got coming up, it's going to be Ignite versus Pavel 1-1-1-1. And it's going to be Hunter versus Warrior. And again, this is going to be an interesting one because we saw some players bring the Kranich Secret Hunter list yesterday, and it was successful. And that list is going to be, that's list success if it's been brought by Ignite. It's going to be very dependent on the style of Warrior we're going to see, because like Quest Warrior is actually a hard matchup for Hunter nowadays, whereas Pirate Warrior is a little bit more doable.
I have to share this with you because you guys don't get this experience at home, but whenever there's a new bit of hunter technology on the market that comes out, whenever Raven starts talking about it, you can feel the hairs on his arms just start to stand up on end.
It's true.
The electricity that emanates from this man is palpable when he talks about new hunter developments.
Hunter's great.
See?
Okay, did you enjoy Kranich playing Hunter
It was
at
great.
Asia Pacific?
It was great. Kranich's entire lineup was really,
That's
really
true.
cool. It wasn't
But
just
especially the Hunter.
this guy.
Hunter's just great. Look,
How many hunter wins do you have on your account?
it's like 4,000,
What's your next highest?
1,008. No, it's like, 1,800,
Yeah.
2,000, something like that. Hunter's great.
Yeah.
And also I have like 520 priest wins. Because I have to get gold. Don't forget about priest.
Don't worry, I will stop right there asking you questions about the stats on your account.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Got really quick legend last month though, so that was cool. But yeah, this matchup is going to be dependent on the hunter. It really is just dependent on list. You can't just say, well, how does hunter versus warrior go? The pirate warrior and the quest warrior are so different, and hunter in a weird spot in this current meta where it does actually falter versus a later game warrior, when it used to be hunter was the deck you picked versus control warrior. High mains were insanely good. You used to keep high main back in the good old days, and you used to actually get there very often. But now, warrior has, because they just play so many taunts and so much removal, and then can actually kill you. It's just a huge problem. Hunter just burns itself out of cards.
Yeah, funnily enough, I always felt that the keeping high main thing was slightly overrated, even back in the day.
I think on the coin it was okay.
I think on the coin it was reasonable, but I think it was also very dependent. I saw people just keep high main and mulligan the rest of their hand, which just seemed insane to me. I feel like you have to have 1-drop, 2-drop in your hand, and then you just keep the high.
Right off the top.
Yeah, this guy.
Just how you play. It's how you get those 4K.
Do you know what
Hunter
you're more
wins.
likely to draw by turn 6 than relying on drawing a 1 and 2 off the top?
Kill command. No?
Quest Warrior versus Hunter.
Woo.
And as we mentioned, Hunter did used to be the go-to deck for blowing up control-style warriors in the metagame. These days, you can tech out a Hunter to do that kind of thing. If you go very, very heavy with it, you play Hydras and High Mains, maybe just chuck a Call of the Wild in there as well. You can get the job done pretty consistently. The problem is, at that point, there's various other decks that you could still be playing to be able to beat Control Warriors up just as effectively. And then they also have much, much higher win rate against the rest of the field. So Hunter's really lost its throne in that regard. And still, strong early curve here, which will be a big deal for Portugal to try and get early pressure down against the Warrior. And remember, when they mulligan, they have no idea whether they were playing against Quest Warrior or Pirate Warrior in this spot, hence the keep of Galactic Crawler.
Yeah, especially because the quest was thrown away, so it means that, well, yeah, it could be either still. It's not like, the one... normally, because the mulligans happen at the same time now, you can just say, oh, well, the card on the left just was kept, so you've just got to be like, come on, the odds of it's just Quest Warrior. But all the cards were thrown away because you don't need the Quest versus Hunter. It's just a potential happy accident later on.
I would actually argue the exact opposite, weirdly enough.
You think?
If you're playing Hunter in a high-level tournament and you see someone keep the far left card, you know it's Pirate Warrior. Because your opponent knows they are supposed to throw the quest away.
Too many levels.
That's right, though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just tinted by ladder. Yeah, they just keep the quest no matter what happens.
Right.
And you're like, look, I know it's a good card, but come on. What's going on? A lot of 1-drops available for Ignite here. It just feels so minimal, right? Alley Cat's great. Coin Ghoul. GG. Yeah, it feels like that hard in this matchup. I feel, at least from my experience.
It's a hell of a Leok next turn if it comes out, though. It means Leok and Huffer are essentially the same thing if nothing gets removed from the board.
It's true.
Leok is just a Huffer with 2 extra health. Motivational Leok points.
But to be fair, Huffer's cooler.
Is he?
He's a pig.
Huffer just kind of seems like an idiot. Leok.
What?
Leok just seems like the refined animal companion. Just out for his bros, just giving buffs out left and right.
No, I think it's more like...
Wait, no. That's Direwolf giving buffs out left and right.
Hey. I think you're like the Leok, where you want to lead from behind on the battlefield, so you send all your dudes, you buff everyone else, and you're like, you guys got this. I'll sit back and watch.
That does sound like
Whereas Huffer gets involved first. See? Huffer and Leok.
Who's our Misha, then?
It's got to be Lorinda, right?
All right. Just because he's the biggest?
Yes.
Raven's done.
Oh, God.
Solo cast. Off we go.
Although Huffer, Buffer, and Tougher is still just the best phrase for those three.
I agree. So Slovakia here, just roping on the decision of Dirty Rat, probably more than anything. Dirty Rat versus Armor Up and Do Nothing versus Coin Acolyte are the three options. Dirty Rat is a scary proposition to be throwing out against a Hunter, especially since some people may still believe, you know, keeping high main is a good plan in this in these kind of matchups. And maybe with Dirty Rat around in the meta, it's something they consider more heavily. But choosing in the end to just armor and pass here, and that does give maximum value potential to this animal companion. It means 2 out of the 3 options here deal 4 damage immediately.
Yeah, I was also wondering just how... Oh, it was...
Yeah, all right, Neil.
I wondered how good Coin Acolyte was there. I mean, you've got a board full of 1-attack minions. You need to draw cards, because even though you're favored, you still want good hand size, right? A lot of resources to mess around with. And yeah, you lose the coin, but then you could also follow it with, slam next turn if you really need it as well. You do have options.
Yeah, I feel like if you're making the Coin Acolyte line, you're kind of relying on the... You're hoping to get 2 card draws, and you're hoping one of those next 2 card draws is a Whirlwind or a Ravaging Ghoul. And then that kind of brings your hand together. You can calculate the percentage of that happening fairly easily. If you think that's a low percentage or not a profitable percentage for you, then holding the coin for a coin brawl is probably just a more consistent line in that position.
Yeah, I guess because you have two brawls. Getting one out a little bit earlier is a bit nicer. Yeah, just see Rope Stone going on today so far. Just let the Acolyte soak up the attack from the Misha more than likely.
Ooh, Razormaw is a massive pickup here, and Portugal just going to slam it on the Misha, just looking for maximum pressure.
So it's a huge pickup.
You could
Which
indeed.
would make it a huge Razormaw.
It would. I agree. That is just factual. +3 attack. So the problem with doing this now is that he's dumped more stats into a potential execute target, right? By putting it on this, it does have a lot of upside, though, because if you get Wind Fury, it's so much more impactful than putting it on anything else. And you can get the tools that protect it from Execute, Divine Shield and Untargetable.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with the decision. I just was surprised that they came to it so quickly. I think there was definitely an argument to take there to spread your power around.
Yeah, Ignite going for the hero power there, though, just to weave it in. And what it means is even if a brawl comes down here, because Ignite's fully aware there's a coin in hand for Slovakia, and it means that he can go Alley Cat into Crawler.
You don't want to cut. He's taking a 1 in 7 high roll of his Acolyte winning over drawing a card.
Oh, I thought he nearly got it. That was like, cards are good.
So...
That's crazy.
If he attacks in first, he gets 1 extra card. I mean, he has plenty of cards in his hand right now. He's not short of things to do. He can start developing taunts every turn for the next 2 turns from here, and he already has a second brawl. So that's one argument to say that he doesn't need to draw the cards, and he might as well take a high roll. The other check mark in the other column is if you attack into the Misha first, draw your card, you also then improve your chance of winning if the Misha lives, because then an execute draw is live with the Misha injured. So yeah, interesting call to just sit back and decide to take the 1 in 7.
Yeah, also as well, if you took the card draw, just the odds on like a 1-2 or a 1-1 surviving was still very high.
Yep.
So you could have just said, you know what, I'll draw a card, leave a 1-1 on the board, or worst a 1-2. That should be fine. The likelihood of Misha surviving was pretty low. The Ion action is available though. This can soak up some attacks for a while, but Pavel's actually getting pretty low already. Only takes a couple of kill commands at this point.
Yeah, but crucially now for Hunter, kill command is all that they have to deal damage through taunt. So if the taunt wall ever gets fully established by Taunt Warrior, it's just matching hero powers most of the time. Hero power goes through, armor up nullifies it. With no quick shot in the standard format anymore, the actual potential for Hunter to do damage through taunt is nowhere near as high as people are used to it being.
I miss those days.
I know you do, Ray.
Kill command, quick shot, GG.
Wow, you just even do it in that order just so you get the BM draw a card with your...
Oh, always, always. Cards like Flare that you draw or something, you're like, yeah, I didn't even need it. This Hyena is a problem now. Wonder if this is enough of a threat to draw out another brawl. The problem is if the Hyena lives, you just lose.
Yeah, so you can reduce your chances on that by going Slam Sleep with the Fishes and Armor Up instead. Oh, he's just going to go Slam Bloodhoof Brave, it looks like. Try and get something else to trade into the Bloodhoof instead. No, he can't, right? Yeah, I was going to say, he's reaching for Bloodhoof Brave. I was like, if he plays Bloodhoof Brave, he's just dead on board, surely.
Yep.
All right. That's a big win. The fact that it's only an Alley Cat in board and not a huge minion is actually a big win. He went for the Dirty Rat over the Armor Up, which makes sense to me for the reason that I stated, where, you know, taunt minions do a ton of work now against Hunter because of those lack of draws like Quick Shot not being in the format anymore.
Yep, Tundra Rhino. This Charge Ability actually going to make for a nice trade with this Direwolf. Going to sneak an extra 4 damage in and still have that threat of charge. You've just seen Sleep with the Fishes. You're now 1 hero power away from winning without the hero power from Slovakia and from Pavel here. This is a tough one. If he brawls, he can only really armor up because he can't afford to play Armor Smith.
If he brawls, the Alley Cat exactly has to win for him to not be dead on board. So I feel like Stonehill Bloodhoof. If he plays Stonehill Bloodhoof, he has 10 points of taunt, and he can do 3, 6, 8 damage through the trades with the Direwolf, and then the Direwolf makes 10. So no damage will go face in that position, but there is a Tundra Rhino, so any beast gets charged to face after that. If the draw is a beast, that will be lethal. If the draw isn't a beast, there's a high percentage chance that the draw
What,
is
if he plays Bloodhoof and Stonehill?
Yeah.
Well, he just dies from hero power.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a much better argument than the complex line.
Oh, he can make these trades.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
It's like, so yeah, that's the real predicament he's actually in, right?
So Alley Cat has to win the brawl? He's looking for a specific...
I think he's going to go Armor Smith.
Okay.
Okay.
This is fine. This is the same 10 points of health, but he actually gets to armor up as well. So same situation, but a beast draw will be potentially the end of the game, and Rat Pack specifically gives him so much extra damage.
Yep.
So he plays the Rat Pack, it gets charge. No, because there's not enough power on board for the Tundra Rhino to die to allow the Galacta Crawler to slide over, which messes up the trades a little bit. But with Direwolf still buffing, I think he's still fine, right? Yeah,
because he gets 2 extra, yeah.
He's fine.
He gets the 3 rats because of the Direwolf buffing it, and that's enough anyway. Just getting that extra attacking is going to mean, oh, there's a dab.
Wow.
I didn't put Ignite down as a dabber.
Me either.
Yeah, it just didn't strike me as the type. Yeah, Ignite, pretty happy with that win, and Portugal go 2-0 up so far versus Slovakia, and the Hunter got there. It's kind of crazy, actually.
It was just an incredibly fast start. I mean, even just with Galacta Crawler in hand, that isn't really the matchup you want, just River Croc on curve. If there's no Fiery War Axe to answer, that's one of the big reasons why you do throw away the quest in that matchup, because you're looking so hard for that Fiery War Axe to be able to answer board states like that. And Coin Brawl even just ended up not being quick enough in the end, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think I liked as well from Ignite. It's something I like just from people playing Hunter in general, is there was a lot of turns where he, turn 5 was just 3-drop hero power. And then 4 mana hero power turn 6. Just getting those extra 2 damage in when you can afford to go a little bit slower onto the board meant that he could refill after the brawl, and he was pushing damage anyway, and it got down to the point where hero power was exactly what he needed towards the end to push that extra damage.
Yeah, he started hero powering specifically going into the turn 4 for Warrior, because he knew Coin was still present. He'd seen it was a very, very slow start, so the brawl was a pretty clean read for him to be able to make. So as you mentioned, just extra resources in hand to fill after the brawl because he didn't play the minion, and that 2 extra damage that he needed wasn't going to be relevant in the end because he had all those extra charging rats off the Rat Pack to be able to push through as well. But still, the hero powers when you need them, one of the keys to playing aggressive Hunters, just learning where to weave that 2 damage in every turn, because it's essentially drawing an arcane shot off the top every turn.
Yeah, it's pretty good. 1 mana draw it, 1 mana play it.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, I thought you were about to question me then. I was like, no, I can do basic maths.
It's like a weird analogy. I don't know.
It's a great analogy. But we are going to be seeing Druid versus Druid, I believe, coming up next. I think it's Ginger versus Richie. So this is going to be a cool one. I'm a big fan of all the different sort of aggro Druid lists we've been seeing recently. Jade Druid. Jade Druid doesn't really change that much. But aggro Druid has been, seeing almost weekly different cards used in that list.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Jade Druid necessarily went through big changes as the set rotated because they lost a lot of key cards to the deck. But since then, there's just been minor tweaks. people flirted with kind of a curator build for a week or so, where they're trying to fill that 5-drop slot with Kodo, challenging the big threat of Finger at the time as well, and then they got to play curator as well because they had the beast synergy alongside the dragon, and that just made sense. But it's pretty much stabilized more or less around that mage list, who was the first person that I really saw playing it with 2 3-drops, which are some combination of Tar Creeper and Gluttonous Ooze coming down, and then pretty much the standard list outside of that. But yeah, aggro Druid, who knows? I mean, we've seen Shell Shifters and Hydras and Menagerie Wardens come out. We've seen Finger package with Murlocs. It's basically the big argument about what your late game package is. Like your
Druid of the Claws as well.
Druid of the Claw as well. Your 5 mana and above cards. Like, what exact package do you want to play in that slot? There's a little bit of disagreement over the early game cards. Some people are still hanging on to the Argent Squire train, which I find ridiculous. I don't think Argent Squire is a...
Quite frankly find ridiculous.
I don't think it's a good card in Firefly world. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, obviously, if you get the buff down on the Divine Shield, then it starts chewing up Fireflies very easily. But if you can't specifically get Mark of the Lotus to pair with your Argent Squire every time, then it does just get chewed up by the fact that every single deck in the meta is playing Firefly these days.
Yeah, also as well, Mark of the Lotus, the more and more I play that deck and see other people play it, it's very much like almost always tried to be saved for the living mana post-turn, because it's the buff you can always get off, because you always gain at least 1 mana on that following turn. So if there's a Mark of the Lotus played that early, you know, like turn 2, you're probably okay with it, you know, going against that. Like, yeah, you know, the Argent Squire chips a couple of the minions away, but there's like Mark of the Lotus can be absolutely backbreaking, making all the living manas instead of 2/2s, 3/3s, and that can just end the game by itself.
Yeah, Mark of the Lotus is just a fantastic card whenever you have to play it, really, because it's one of the highest win rate cards in the deck to be in your opening hand. But then it's also a card that doesn't lose utility later on because of living mana. Yeah, it's just a fantastic card. When you see Power of the Wild, and it's probably 75–80% of the time used to buff a board, right? Used in 1/1 form.
Yep.
And then you just introduce that same card for 1 mana cheaper.
I'll take it.
Yeah, right. That's just going to make magic happen.
Okay, so it's going to be the aggro Druid mirror. We'll see what the choices are for these 2 players and for these 2 teams. Ginger does have access to the Innovate, Vicious Fledgling, Mark of Yasharaj, GG combination.
Ah, is the GG a crucial part of that combo, Raven?
I mean, BG if you're a bit of a BMer, but
fair enough.
Sure. Or GG no re.
Crucially, though, Bloodsail Corsair plus patches means that Innovate Fledgling is checked by Slovakia. Because if Innovate Fledgling comes down, that means that the hero power will take out the Vicious Fledgling. What about the second one?
Yeah, then you can just coin Vicious Fledgling number 2.
I like it.
Yeah.
That second Fledgling actually changed everything, because now you Innovate Fledgling, you expect your opponent to invest a large resource into killing it, hero power it down. The only thing that puts you in a bad spot if you Innovate Fledgling here that I can think of is Mark of Yasharaj.
Yeah.
Mark of Yasharaj on the 1/2, trade in, value trade as a 3/4 into the 3/3. That actually puts you in a rough spot.
Double Mark of the Lotus.
Sure.
But yeah, that's not that bad. It's going to be Innovate Fledgling from Ginger here, and like we said, you would expect this one to get cleaned up pretty easily with that hero power. If you use Power of the Wild now, then it means, you know, both minions that you've just used on die anyway, so it's not really worth doing. There is a question as to whether you Power of the Wild for a minion now and Innovate out the hero power, just so you have something on the board. And that's not even me so much with Ultimate Caster Vision that we know the next card is Fledgling. I think it's just you might want something on the board.
Right, I think if you're doing that, you Innovate Flame Elemental, right? Like, playing the 2/1/2 bodies is better in a majority of situations than just having the 3/2.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
The kind of unique and weird situation that it's not worse against is having coined second Fledgling come down. But Slovakia here are actually just going to challenge the Vicious Fledgling, and I assume if they're going with this play, they are seriously considering ignoring this thing. But no, they're going to give it some respect.
I wonder how good that is above hero power.
So they have 2 2/3s on board instead of 2 1/2s, and they have 2 extra health right now over just hero powering it down and innovating the 2 1/2s.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big improvement.
Yeah, but you would also have Power of the Wild this turn
Correct.
as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, we see with Vicious Fledgling number 2, it wouldn't have really mattered too much, and this does end up with a slightly bigger board, but both the minions are going to die to this crab eventually.
It's double trade again, I imagine? Are they just really going to try hard to protect this Vicious Fledgling? Looks that way. Definitely can't blame them.
I guess so.
Absolute nightmare to remove this from hand in this position. Savage Roar doesn't do it. There's no Wrath in the deck. There's not enough mana for a Bloodsail Corsair plus patches alongside Savage Roar coming down. So I think it's just board tension with the who is going to blink first Vicious Fledgling battle.
Nope.
Well,
never mind.
Yeah.
Would you actually take the trade here? Because what you can do is you can mark up the Lotus, which is almost always going to happen. You can go face and then make your decision as to, you know, based on what adapts you get. Or you could just go trade and say, I have a 4/4 Fledgling and a 4/1 Fledgling and see what your opponent does about it. Because there's some decks that play swipe, but it isn't really that common.
I don't see the harm in going face, quite honestly, because no matter what you do, your opponent has the opportunity to kill a 4/4 Fledgling with their 3/3 attack plus a hero power, right? If you trade your 4/4 into his 3/3, then they can hero power down your 4/1, and their 3/3 and hero power has killed a 4/4. If you go face, they at best have that opportunity to do the same thing. Like, Mark of Yasharaj is a small punish. That's the slight thing that you're worried about. And in this spot, Bloodsail Corsair plus Savage Roar is also a punish, but those are very, very niche situations.
Yeah, Ginger's going to get it off, though. This means he can fully trade in. He doesn't lose the board, but, you know, he sort of ends up equal on the board to some extent with the 1/2 versus the 2/1/1s. But most importantly, he still has cards in hand, whereas Richie now rips the Galaka Crawler for this Pirate, so he'll be able to make that a crab-shaped Totem Golem. But most importantly, there's Hydra into living mana, and a lot of the time, that is enough to catch up, even with Portugal at the health detriment here.
A Totem Golem-shaped crab. Surely. Surely!
I guess.
Yeah. All right.
Swipe, though.
Does have the swipe now.
Swipe champ.
What? What does that even mean?
It means that feeling exactly.
It's how it makes you feel. That's what it means.
It's the crispest of swipes.
Savage Roar off the top is about as dead as it gets, and this is where Portugal's late-game draw is going to take over in this spot. They've had just enough to stop themselves from dying, and in that position where you reach this equilibrium, having the greedier cards in hand are what you want, and this is often the case in aggro mirrors, where because both decks are so aggressive, both decks trade incredibly often, as we've seen in this matchup. You know, a 2/3 and a 2/2 going into a 3/3 multiple times. You know, a minion plus Savage Roar going into a 4/4. These are the kind of situations you're forced to create, and then because of that, whoever ends up with resources left in hand after all the trades have taken place goes ahead and wins the game.
Yeah, and I do like the living mana above the Hydra here. And I think the key is if your opponent like returns with living mana of their own, then they can repeat trade into the Hydra for additional damage. And that's just going to be lethal for them. So they normally would naturally play the Hydra first, and then you've got the mana to follow with living mana. But yeah, I do like the avoiding of what can potentially lose them the game here, as opposed to what's going to make them win quicker.
Yeah, that Hydra is not going to be committed to the board recklessly. Once this Tar Creeper comes down, which it very much might do this turn with the Innovate draw, then maybe the Hydra can be considered to put behind the Tar Creeper. But even then, with Hydra on the board behind Tar Creeper, you're turning a swipe top deck from 4 damage into potentially more than that, right? With having that in play. So it's still something that you do have to consider, especially when you're in this dominant of a position in the first place.
Is it going to be Innovate Hero Power? No, okay, it's trading. So it's going to be that Innovate Hydra, Tar Creeper, sorry, more than likely. And this just defends the 2/2s and, more importantly, just stops Slovakia getting something a little bit crazy from hand to be able to kill them from 12. Mark of Yasharaj.
Yeah, it stops just, you know, Bluegill Warrior plus Savage Roar silliness, which doesn't quite get there just yet, but a couple more turns of hero power.
Like Druid of the Claw, for example.
Yeah,
Savage Roar is nuts.
Same kind of thing.
Oh, and
it's going to come down.
Yeah, here comes the
Hydra. Try and race.
I think this is the right time as well.
Right.
If you're going to play Hydra, get it down right now. He has exactly 5 mana with those the living mana being traded off a little bit earlier.
Ooh.
Oh, wow, okay. There's 16 available next turn with just hero power for Ginger, plus all the minions. Man, there's nothing Slovakia can do about it.
just going to mark. Yeah. Mark of Yasharaj is a very unusual card because you can see in the hand right now it's not yellow. It doesn't give the indicator because the beast is opposition, but it does just say give a minion, not a friendly minion. It's a very, very strange card in that regard. Portugal are just loving this series for some reason.
Richie's just laughing.
I get the feeling they've had fun this series, and why wouldn't they? Because they have gone out to a dominant 3-0 performance, and it was somewhat unusual. The Spirit Echo and the Direwolf in the Shaman, and then that game just being a complete blowout as well, even though there were 2 4/4 Vicious Fledglings on the board at one point. Crazy kind of situation, but still, it was a dominant win in the end from Portugal, and they seem to enjoy that very much, Raven.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun playing that matchup, and, you know, going back to that Druid mirror, you can see how, you know, it's so aggressive a matchup that you never really go face, which is just very strange to say. But 3 Vicious Fledglings on the board, and nothing ran away with each other too much. You can see the shape of the matchup now. Cereza, Ignite, and Ginger getting wins. Dr. Boom obviously on comms with them helping as well. But yeah, a 3-0 win over Slovakia. And Slovakia, not the best of runs in this tournament, to be honest, but we did get to see some new faces that at least I didn't know about. So it's good to see those guys, you know, come out to play a little bit. And I have no doubt that they'll be looking to improve going forward for the next global games.
Yeah, and it is nice to see teams at least having unique views on deck building, at least, right? Which is, I guess, what we call that.
Political way to
very diplomatic. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to just judge a deck with seeing one game of it, right? Like, sure. there might be other cards in there that suddenly make Direwolf Alpha and Spirit Echo make sense. They didn't make sense to me from what I saw, but there might be other tools in there that can make it happen.
Yeah, he judges decks when I tell him about something I've made.
Because all your ideas
0
are
games.
Clearly terrible.
0 games being played. But yeah, we can check in with Ginger now after that 3-0 win. Congratulations, Ginger, and the rest of Team Portugal, of course. How sort of strange was that matchup when you went against the Shaman and saw a Direwolf come out? Because there was also Spirit Echoes in hand, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. Right, I've heard there was Spirit Echo. I don't know. We were kind of surprised. I mean, our reaction was kind of started laughing, right? So
yeah.
I don't know what he was doing with that card. Yeah.
Yeah, my reaction when I saw the Spirit Echo was about the same, so I can't blame you. But yeah, 3-0 record. I assume you guys have been doing your own maths on what that means in terms of the group. Like, from your guys' perspective, where do you think you stand now with a 3-0 win?
I think we're out regardless of
yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun experience, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, what were the highlights for just the time playing in global games for you guys? Because you guys have definitely been a lot of fun to watch. There's been some great matches coming out from you lot. And what's it been like for you guys over the past 9 weeks?
I mean, it has been fun. I mean, we got to practice with other countries like Romania and other players like Jawan and Navi from Australia. It was really fun, like interacting with other people from the community. Yeah, it's really good for the scene, for the game to have this type of tournaments.
Yeah, awesome. It's definitely been a lot of fun to cast so far, at least, and you'll no doubt be keeping up with the rest of global games as it progresses. But congratulations on the 3-0 win. It was definitely a cool matchup to cast for us, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Subtle. Thank you, Raven.
Thank you.
Oh, what a nice guy.
I do like Ginger.
Addressing us by name.
Yeah, specifically.
It's the little things.
As opposed to addressing you by the wrong name.
Exactly, yeah. That's just kind of what I was getting at. He mentioned Navi as well there. And it's like, you know what? I like you a lot more than I like Navi.
Yeah, we'll see the shape of this matchup overall. That Spirit Echo still being in hand. It's a strange list, but maybe we can tweet Ivan Flock and see what was the actual full list. We can check it out. But Pirate Warrior doing Pirate Warrior things. And the second a second captain comes down onto the board, you are feeling a little bit rough as the opponent.
Yeah, that whole matchup was just very, very miserable. He was forced to play a 2-2 Direwolf into a 2-damage weapon just because he'd lost the board so aggressively early on. And
Cute Cat lives.
Cute Cat lives. You saw Coin Brawl not being good enough, but even with this Dirty Rat coming down and pulling out one of the best possible targets in the deck, just another 1-1 less Cute Cat. And this being the turn where I forgot how Hunter Hero Power worked for some reason, but he found that 10 health of Taunt that he needed to theoretically keep him alive off the Stonehill Defender, but any Beast Draw was going to theoretically get the job done for Portugal, and they found it with the Rat Pack.
Yeah, the power of Tundra Rhino when it lives, I think most importantly. A lot of the time, it's nice, a 2-5 on 5 seems reasonable, but the second it lives, it opens up truly ridiculous possibilities for the Hunter player. So was a bit of a surprising one. I thought the Taunt Warrior was going to take it there, and now we see a bit of a blowout in terms of this Druid mirror, mainly just off the back of Mark. You know, there you go, exactly. It's Savage Draw, Mark of Yasharaj, Mark of Yasharaj, when your opponent is going Living Mana, Tar Creeper, Hydra. One-sided. Thanks.
I'm just watching Portugal just react to these situations. They've just kind of been giggling at Slovakia's misfortune for this entire series so far. High levels of Schadenfreude from Portugal so far in this series.
As long as everyone has fun, you know, that's what I think. So it's good for those guys that they're enjoying it. Portugal, knowing they were out, they were just, like I said, just play the series out, do your best, and see what score you end up with. So we can check out what the group looks like after that win. As Portugal, as you can see, still out, but with a 2-3 record, and not too far behind Hong Kong. But at the moment, it's South Korea, Greece, and Hungary rocking those highly sought-after 3 spots.
Yeah, and the crucial part there is that they can't stay ahead of both Slovakia and Hungary because they have to play each other, meaning that someone is going to still remain on a favourable win rate ahead of them, meaning, as Portugal said themselves, they are 100% out in this situation, as is my understanding.
Yep, I also believe that is true. So that is going to be match 1 for today, and we're going to be moving on to Sweden versus Switzerland. We've got coming up after the break, so don't go anywhere.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.